Hey y'all, it's Michelle and welcome to Beauty by Michelle. We're going to do a cut crease makeup tutorial today. We're going to recreate the look that I did for my welcome video, and I'm going to show you each and every single step. We are going to start off with some skincare. The three products I have for you guys today is number one, the face moisturizer. I'm obsessed with this one. It's by the Abnormal Beauty Company and it's called The Ordinary. This moisturizer really does the job and it's like under 10 bucks. I think I got it for under 10 bucks. So it's really straight to the point. It's very hydrating and it'll keep you hydrated the whole day. So the next product I'm going to recommend to you guys is hyaluronic acid, and it's actually by the same exact company. It just does a really good job at hydrating your skin from underneath and it keeps that moisture locked in. Last but not least, I'm going to be using an eye cream. This is the eye cream by e.l.f. that I am absolutely obsessed with. So let's get started and dive into the makeup look. I'm going to start off by doing my brows, and because I have very thick brows, I'm going to be applying products that are very good for anyone with thick brows. If you have thin brows, you are absolutely welcome to use the same exact products. It's just you may use more of one and less of the other. So I will show you what I mean. We're going to be using the Brow Freeze Gel by Anastasia Beverly Hills, and what it's going to do is really keep the hairs of the eyebrow in place as to where we want them. And I'm going to be applying it with the Anastasia Beverly Hills brush. It's brush number 12. And I'm going to be using this end to be able to comb the brow hairs. And I'm actually applying the actual product, just a tiny tad bit of this product right onto here, and a little goes a really long way, so definitely don't overdo it with the brow gel. But I'm just going to apply it on one of these. This is a handheld palette. If you don't have one of these, it's a must-have. I got this one off of Amazon and I can link it down below. Alright, so I have a little bit of product right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of this brush and just kind of dabble the whole thing onto it. We're going to start off at this end and just comb through the eyebrow, and we're combing upwards. You can see how long my hairs are. Don't worry, these long hairs will be shaped towards the end, but you're just going to keep combing upwards. And I only used a little bit of product, that way, you know, it wouldn't get too clunky. But if you need more product, you can always go back and add a little bit more as you go along and do your eyebrow. Alright, so now it looks really crazy, of course, but what you can do is take the actual brush and just slightly comb it so that they kind of sit down. So the hairs are actually going to stay up and standing, but just the ends of the actual hairs are going to kind of sit down a bit, that way you don't look crazy. So as you guys can see, it adds a lot of little dimension into your eyebrows. So they look really good, even though they're thick, they don't look too over the top. They look a little bit more natural, and all of the hairs are not just sitting in one place. They're kind of placed nicely where you want them. Next, I'm going to be going in with the NYX brow pencil, and this is the shade Espresso. I like to go in at this beginning point, not all the way up because then it looks very unnatural, but trying to go in just a little bit after that. And what I like to do is kind of create a little, like very lightly, like with a very lifted hand, just do like a little sweep. That way you have an outline of where you're going with your eyebrow. But I don't want to like color that in too much or anything because it will go crazy. But what you can do is take the pencil and go in upwards motions and kind of fill in those little spaces that you've got if you'd like to add some depth and dimension into your eyebrows. I don't want to go too much more in here because it's pretty full, but another place I like to go is right underneath the eyebrow. Now that the bottom of this side is done, we're going to work out on the top, and we're just going to do just this little part where I have the actual arch, just to make sure it's good to go. And I am really not going to fill in much more of my eyebrow because that's enough. So here's the difference. I've got the pencil down on this one as well as the brow freeze, and this one is just the brow freeze. So keep in mind, if you don't want a fuller look, you can absolutely switch that and just keep it simple and go directly to the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow freeze only. Next, we're going to go in with some concealer, and what I'm going to do is use the Real Techniques brush. It's called the Essential Foundation brush, and the concealer I'm going to be using is Born This Way. It's by Too Faced, and this is the shade Vanilla. Coverage that I used is very full coverage in this concealer, just as an FYI, so I only recommend this if you're looking for full coverage or if you're looking for a very sleek, clean look with your makeup, because it really highlights the work that you've done. It really shows off the brows. It makes everything very prominent. Every little feature is going to pop with this. And again, it is a little bit lighter than the color of my skin, and I did that on purpose because I'm going to end up bronzing and things like that, so it's going to become more neutralized. And especially after I apply the shades, it's really good because that light color underneath really helps bring out the pigment in the eyeshadows. So I do want to tell you guys that I'm going to use this Laura Mercier finishing powder to kind of go over all this concealer that I did. And I'm going to use a stippling brush by Real Techniques to do the job. It's called the Duo Fiber Contour Brush, and I like it because it's nice and fluffy. Like, the ends are nice and fluffy, so you can like take the powder, and if you got too much on there, you can just like, you can tap it on here and shake the rest off, but really just like dabbing down and getting all of this so that your eyes don't crease and that your makeup stays flawless. So really just put it all over where you applied this concealer. If you have another kind of finishing powder, even if it's not the Laura Mercier one, no worries, go get it and do it up, because I really think it makes a huge difference on this step. It really mattifies everything, and you don't have any creases before you do your eyeshadows. You don't want creases on your eyelids. No, this is the makeup palette I'm going to be using today. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina collection, and this is the Pro Pigment palette number 4, and it's a must-have. Trust me, go get it. It's worth it. Treat yourself. The first shade we're going to be using is E4. It's this little dark purple shade, and it's going to be applied right in the crease of my eyes. Crease brush by Real Techniques. Today's my Real Techniques day. You guys, most of my brushes are actually Real Techniques. They do an amazing job. So what I'm going to do is just take that color, the E4, dabble a little bit into it and just tap it out to make sure there's not as much fallout. But if there is fallout, don't worry, we're going to clean it up anyway. And the first thing I'm going to do is actually just apply the color right onto the corner of my eye. And I want it to be a little bit more dark and intense, like more pigmented, I mean. So I'm going to go back in again and just layer right on top of it. And what we're going to do is really create this V shape. So it's going to look like this and like that. So there's like a half circle at the top and a V at the bottom. I know it's not blended right now, but that's on purpose because we're going to use another color to blend it out. But just so you know, this is what it looks like. You get to be a little bit messy with this part. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want to really make sure you've applied the color. The next color we're going to be using in this palette is A4, and A4, as you can see, is this very soft tan color, and it's great for blending with darker skin tones like mine or olive skin tones, because what it does is it really takes this purple and blends it out so that it matches more of your skin tone. And I think that's perfect for this look, so let's give it a shot. I'm going to be using the shading brush by Real Techniques and to apply that A4 color, and I'm just going to apply it directly on top of where I put the darkest part of that purple. First, just dabbing it on, putting the color on, and then I'll be blending it out afterwards. Now I'm going to take that color that I applied at the top of that purple and blend it out. I'm going to go back in with the Essential Crease Brush from Real Techniques. I'm going to be applying the same A4, that darker tan shade on top of this purple, and then I'm going to be blending it out. It's definitely a better blending brush than the previous brush. Now that the eyeshadow is nice and blended at the tops and looks really nice like a sunset, a purple sunset, it looks really good. I'm gonna go back in actually with that same concealer, Born This Way, and start with covering my eyelid. And I'm gonna be using this brush. It's also by Real Techniques. It's called the Pointed Foundation Brush. I'm gonna use it because it's nice and pointed and flat and easy to use, especially when you're like cutting the crease or you just want a little bit more pigment at a certain part of your eye. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. And I like to apply it again on this little hand palette that I've got. I just apply just a tiny bit of concealer. A little goes a really long way, you guys, like I mentioned before. And if you blink, it will show you kind of where it wants to go. So you just follow the line, and what you could do is you could tap it down in this motion and move your brush so that you have a nice clean cut crease. I'm gonna let you guys on a little secret. I am using the Real Techniques lip brush, yes, lip brush, to perfect the cut crease. So I'm just gonna go back into the concealer and perfect that little shape so that it's nice and precise. It gets really to any point that you need it to, which is why I use it for the cut crease. Next, I'm going to use the shade D4 right here to blend out the space between the dark shadow of the purple and my eyelid. So it's actually going to look a little bit more pink when you apply it, even though it looks more purple in the palette. But first we're going to do is just dab it on, and then we will blend with the purple on top of it. Now we're going to go back in with a shadowing brush and go back to the color E4, that dark purple that we started with, to darken the purple on the ends first. So I'm applying all the product on the corners, and then I'm going to just bring it into that next shade that we applied, that pinkish purple shade. And this is going to be kind of like a C. You could think about it as a C, but we're kind of blending it a little bit more in that way because we've got all the pigment we want from the previous color, but we just want to make sure that these two are blended together. Next, we're going to use a brush by Beauty Creations. It's a generic brand, but they have amazing synthetic brushes if you're looking for them. It doesn't have a number, but what it looks like is pretty much a very flat brush, almost like a concealer brush, so that we can apply some shadow. The next shadow we're going to be using is shade E3. It's the nice glittery one. And what we're going to do is dab it on to the palette and onto our eyes. I'm just starting off basically next to that pinkish purpley shade that we had, and as you can see, it is super pretty. Oh my gosh, I'm like obsessed with it already. But I'm just going to apply a little bit on the sides here, and then we will use the last shade in the corner to top it off. Last but not least, I'm going to use the Defining Crease brush, and I'm going to go in with this golden shade. It's called A5 on the palette. It's on the top hand corner, and I'm going to kind of go in and just touch up those little very corners of my eyeshadow. It's going to give a very nice glow because it is a little bit more metallic, and it goes really well with the glitter. Now what I like to do is just take whatever's left in my brush and dab it just slightly on top of the glitter. The reason being is that little extra gold shimmer goes right underneath the glitter, and it makes the glitter pop even more. That's a little trick. Now make sure you're not blending it all together, you're literally just dabbing the gold on, because now the glitter is even more shiny now that we added that gold base on top. And I do like to put it on top instead of on bottom because I feel like it sets the glitter too. Underneath the eye, I'm gonna go and add a little bit of eyeshadow. The accent brush by Real Techniques will do a perfect job at blending that eyeshadow out at the bottom. So I'm gonna go into number E4 and blend it out. I'm going to use this last color right here in the corner. It's called E1, and this is a very bright pink, and what it's going to do is add a little pop of color right underneath where I added that dark purple on the bottom. So now you've got that purple and pink blend, and I just think it's the perfect little pop because it really enhances your eyes. Next, I'm going to apply a NYX eyeliner in my waterline, and this is the shade Purple. I'm going to go in with the NYX Epic Ink Liner for my eyeliner, and I'll show you how it's done. I really like this one because it's very easy to use. It doesn't stay as stiff. It kind of moves with your hand movement, but it's stiff enough to the point where if you're brand new to makeup, this will save your life. So try and get one of these. I highly recommend it. The trick to using eyeliner is to try and get it as close to your lash line as possible when you're doing this half of your eye. And then for the back end and the cat eye, depending on how you want it, I like to make my eyes look a little bit more lifted because I do have round eyes, and sometimes I'll try to elongate them as well. But for today, I went with more of a lifted look. I just went to the corner of my eye and slightly applied pressure and then kind of lifted the felt brush so that it created a little cat eye. And then I kind of went in and connected it to the rest of my eye. It's time for lashes. I'm gonna use number 2, which is Flirtatious. This is my own brand, Beauty by Michelle. If anyone's interested, you can send me a DM and see all the options on Instagram at beautybymichelle_moi, M-U-A. I'm gonna be using the Duo Lash Glue to apply these lashes. Next, I'm going to go in with the Maybelline Rocket Volume Mascara to give it a nice little finishing. Now that our eyes look bomb, we're gonna go in and start our face makeup, and the first product I'm gonna use is this one. This is the LA Girl Pro Concealer. A lot of people like the red one in this, and I think the red one is fantastic if you have a lot of dark spots or you have a lot of stuff that you want to cover up. I do have some stuff I want to cover up, but not too much, so the peach one is actually even better for that in my opinion. It's less work to hide it and with your foundation, and it just does a really smooth job, honestly. So give it a shot, and I'm going to go ahead and cover up some of my trouble areas. I'm going to take the Real Techniques Expert Face Brush and just blend it out. This is amazing, let me tell you. This peach color is perfect for girls with similar skin tones to mine especially. And what it does is it really covers like those dark spots you have. So I have a little bit dark here, a little dark here, a little dark here, but then I also covered up some of my acne that was going on. Next, we're gonna go in with foundation, and the one I have for you guys today is the MAC Match Master in 2.0. This is the shade I use, and it's actually a little warmer than my skin tone, but I actually prefer a more tan look, so I go with this. And it actually blends pretty well with my skin since I'm kind of a little in between. I can go with the cool side and the warm side, so I really like this shade. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back into the foundation and apply. It's a very nice and warm, rich color. You literally cannot see my acne anymore. You can't see anything anymore, so it does a very good job. Fenty Beauty's Island Ting bronzer. It's number 4, and I'm going to be using my favorite all-time brush that I ever owned. You guys, I have 2 of them. It is the contour brush by Real Techniques, and they are everything. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and apply Island Ting, and I'll show you how to do it. I have a very round face, so I like to make my contour a little bit more dramatic. So right here, you have a line, you feel a bone. If you go like this and you see the apples of your cheek, that's where the blush is gonna go, and right underneath it is where the bronzer is gonna go. So I'm gonna be making silly faces as we do this, so go ahead and laugh with me as I apply this beautiful color. So I start by adding a lot of color at the top here, and then I kind of slide it down and then blend my way up. And because of my face shape, I also bring it up to here. I also think this looks pretty really on any face shape if you want. So you can always take your bronzer and just like bring it up here. It gives you a lot of depth and dimension. Your face looks very good. And that depth actually goes literally from where you did your eyeshadow up towards the back of your face. Do not forget about your jawline. I have a very little forehead, but if you have a little one and you don't need to bronze as much, you just kind of need the corners. So you kind of have to get along the real like edge of your forehead to be able to apply this bronzer and look very sun-kissed, but not like you don't have a forehead. If you have a larger forehead, you can absolutely go bronze the same way, but a little deeper into your actual forehead. I'm just going across the hairline pretty much. You can totally tell the difference. Like this side, no bronzer. This side has like that very intense, deep bronze, and that's what I personally like to go for. Let me know what side you like better, you guys. Let me know if you like a more like soft finish like this, more angelic with more of like a blush and that little bit of a lift, or if you like that very intense, deep type of look. I'm gonna actually be using the NARS Orgasm blush. This is really popular. Everyone loves this blush. It's really pretty. It's a very like soft type of pink color, but it has like a little bit of a golden sheen to it. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna apply it on the apples of my cheek. I also like to just add a little bit of blush on the tip of my nose. I just feel like it looks so cute. I'm also going to contour my nose a little bit, so I'm just going to go back in with the Fenty Beauty bronzer, and I'm going to be using this brush called Domed Shadow Brush, also by Real Techniques. I'd like to dip into the bronzer and sort of map out from where my eyebrow starts all the way towards the bottom, like so. Before I blend it out, I'm going to do that on the other side as well. And I'm going to go above my nose here to create a more narrow nose look, and I'm going to make a little line on both sides as well as the tip of my nose, just a tad bit. So I'm going to go ahead and blend it out a little bit with the same exact brush. So now that my nose is contoured, I'm gonna add a little bit of concealer to touch off this whole look. I'm gonna go back in with my Laura Mercier powder, finishing powder, and it's translucent. I'm just gonna dab it back into the stippling brush and pat it over the concealer I just added. And the first thing I'm going to do is hydrate with Smith's Rosebud Salve, and I'm just going to apply that. It really works kind of like a chapstick, but it's like OD, like hydrating compared to a chapstick. I really recommend this too. I just literally apply some on my finger and just apply it on my lip. So now your lips are going to stay nice and hydrated even when you apply your lipstick, so your lips won't look as crusty. I'm gonna go in with the Natasha Denona shade in 25 Louise, and I think it'll be perfect with the eye look we have, but it won't be too overpowering. I'm gonna add a little bit of a frosty look to it, so this is totally optional, but I am gonna be using the Marc Jacobs lip gloss, and it's number 312 in Sugar Sugar Enamored. I'm going to be using the Ofra highlighter in the color Blissful. I'm going to just go in and use this brush. It's nice and fluffy, but also a little dense. It's the Domed Shadow Brush, and I just use this for highlighter. You can use it for a lot of things, but first thing is I'm going to just use the little tip of my nose, but I'm also going to go into the bridge of my nose and add a little bit of shine. As you can see, this highlighter is very strong, so if you want to just dab it down with your finger, you know, go for it. And I also like to go in here, so it gives you a little bit of definition, I think. So not too much highlighter, but just a little bit. I think it looks really good. And I'm gonna just finish it off a little bit, whatever's in there on my chin, not too much. And I'm gonna also go under the brow. So under the brow is like, absolutely, you better put highlighter under your brow. You better do it, because it makes such a huge difference. If you like highlighter, I would say this is like the best place to add it. As you can see, like, look at that. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Also gonna add it to the tip of my brow here at the top as well, for that extra high definition. And for the cheeks, I actually have a totally separate product, which I haven't used yet, but I've been dying to try. I saw it online and I had to buy it. It's the Iconic London Illuminator, and basically this is in shade Original. I'm just gonna take like a tiny smidge bit of this and like touch it on my brush because it's very strong. I've tested it on my hand. So all I'm gonna do is take that and apply it to where my bone is the highest and literally just use it as a highlighter. And you wanna make sure that you're blending it out nicely. So that is the new Iconic London Illuminator. I've been dying to try it, so I'm glad that I finally did, and I really dig it. And that's how I created my look.